And we were just seeing what is at stake in this first round of elections in Argentina to begin our analysis of the evening. While we await for the special results, we receive our guest, political analyst Tobías Belgrano from Buenos Aires. Welcome, Tobías, to Latin American Votes.
Thanks for having me once again.
Yes, Tobías joined us on our last edition of Latin American Votes while we followed the second presidential debate. So, Tobías, you are joining us from Argentina. How was your experience in this electoral day?
Well, today's election was lived with it was a peaceful day. There were no major incidents except for the Santa Fe province. That there was a major flood in many schools that weren't able to vote because of the floods. But in general, except for minor specific scenarios, the general election was really in peace and without a lot of any kind of problems and any kind of problems in general.
Right, and we are still waiting for first official results to understand what is at stake here in the elections in Argentina. We come from our last election where the open primaries, which set up a unique scenario in Argentina with the three main forces tying up at around 29% of the votes. What do you think is the perspective coming out in this first round of the general elections? Are we looking at a similar context, or are we looking at a different situation?
The information that's been released right now are speaking about a major change in the numbers from the previous election, where Together for Change or Juntos por el Cambio, the Macrist, the center-right coalition, is leaning to finish in third place and losing many votes from their initial election, especially in major key provinces such as Córdoba, that former Governor Juan Schiaretti, that's running for president, seems to have been defeating Together for Change and getting in first place. That's the information we are receiving without the confirmed result, but this is what we call here witness tables of the schools and of the election. So what we're seeing is Sergio Massa getting ahead and getting an advantage from the previous election. What we also are probably discarding in the current state of events is that La Libertad Avanza, or Freedom Advances, of Javier Milei is winning the first round. That was one of the possibilities of the general election. And the dispute is if Sergio Massa, that was because of the economy and the economic problems of the country that's currently suffering, and Sergio Massa being the economy minister, if Sergio Massa was able to get more votes after the initial election. But what we are seeing and the information we are receiving is that Peronism and the Unión por la Patria, or Union for Fatherland coalition, is getting better results than the primaries, and we just have to confirm if they are going to finally get in first place or get in second place. But the scenario of ballotage is a reality right now. In Buenos Aires province, the witness tables of the schools are confirming that Axel Kicillof is winning the Buenos Aires province. And what we are in stake right now is that in Buenos Aires City, Leandro Santoro, the candidate of Peronism, might get to a ballotage with Jorge Macri, the cousin of Mauricio Macri, former president, that was selected to become chief of governor of Buenos Aires City.
You were mentioning two key places to understand Argentine politics. Let's put this into context for our international viewers. There are two different political spaces, territories, that are the province of Buenos Aires and the city of Buenos Aires, which are electorally different, and they are politically aligned in a very different way. While the province of Buenos Aires, as you were mentioning before, is currently under the governorship of Axel Kicillof, and he might be heading to re-elect that position. It is a territory specifically aligned, usually aligned with a Peronist vote, while the city of Buenos Aires is usually more right-wing voting. It has been under the government of Mauricio Macri and his space Together for Change for a long time. So the ballotage there, going to a second round in the city of Buenos Aires, is also an important event that could take place, could be decided this evening. Now, Tobias, if you will join us, we are now going to go into a little context for our viewers to see what's at stake in this election, and I'll come back to you. We're waiting for the context to run.
In this Sunday's elections, Argentines are called to elect at the national level the positions of President, Vice President, 130 deputies, and 24 national senators. 19 Mercosur parliamentarians were also elected by national district and 24 by regional district. At the provincial level, citizens also chose their local candidates for the province of Buenos Aires, the autonomous city of Buenos Aires, Catamarca, and Entre Rios. According to the results, this Sunday's elections will either define the next president of the country in case there is a winner in the first round, or who will be the two candidates competing in the runoff election on November 19. The presidential candidates in the 2023 election are far-right libertarian and newcomer to a presidential election Javier Milei from the Liberty Advances Party, right-wing candidate Patricia Bullrich, also former Minister of Security in the Mauricio Macri's administration, who's running for the Together for Change coalition. Center-left Sergio Massa, current Minister of Economy and candidate for the ruling coalition Union for the Homeland. Dissident Peronist from the province of Córdoba, Juan Schiaretti, and Miriam Bregman from the Leftist Front.
So there we were seeing a little bit of context on what is at stake at this general elections in Argentina. And we're joined by Tobías Belgrano in this political analysis of the situation. We were just mentioning what happened at the primaries in August in Argentina, and particularly during these few months, of course, the candidates who were tied at the polls in the primaries in August really tried and made an effort to win, to make their electoral base higher, knowing that they are competing for the first position. Tobias, how have you seen the main candidates? We're talking about Javier Milei from Liberty Advances, Sergio Massa from Union from the Homeland, and Patricia Bullrich for Together for Change. How have you seen them during the last couple of months, and how can their actions have affected the votes in this month that went from the primary elections to the first general round that we are about to get our official results right now?
Well, especially Sergio Massa did great efforts from the economy ministry to reduce and get some benefits for workers and formal workers, like the reduction of the income taxes for workers. Also, there were a lot of movements around provinces and governors to promote Sergio Massa's candidacy as president. And on the other side, Peronist coalition suffered the backlash of a corruption scandal regarding mayor of Lomas de Zamora, Martín Insaurralde, that was found in Marbella with a vote of $1 million. That was also a problem for the Peronist campaign, but he was quickly forced to quit his candidacy and to quit his place as chief of staff of Governor Axel Kicillof. In the case of Patricia Bullrich, she did a great effort with Carlos Melconian, that it's an economist and a center-right economist that is very good in explaining the economic problems of Argentina for everyone to be able to understand the problems of Argentina, how to solve them. However, then also the possible candidate for Minister of Economy was also found in a corruption scandal where he was accused of promoting women in political charges for sexual exchanges and also for public relations traffic in the Bank of the Nation of Argentina. The problems came for Patricia Bullrich, especially Javier Milei didn't move a lot, but the last day he and many candidates of Liberty Advances got a lot of problems with controversial declarations, like one of his deputies, Lilia Lemoyne, claimed that fathers that didn't want to there was the need of a law to make fathers being able to quit the parentship of their children. So that's one of the cases that make backlash in Liberty Advances.
You were mentioning this last stage of Javier Milei, and many political analysts were discussing how after the results in the open primaries, the most logical place for Javier Milei, who was maybe an unexpected winner in those polls, to take a low position, to take a step back from his most outrageous statements. And some political analysts suggested that he tried to do that, although many of his members continued talking. He was also in the center of a lot of international discussion. He made statements regarding the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro. He talked about the possible cutting off relationship with Brazil and China, which also put him on the spotlight again. And in the debate, of course, he was once again put on the spotlight. And once he is now perceived as a possible real candidate after the primaries, what have you perceived the public opinion to turn on Milei? Do you think he still has the support that was shown at the open primaries, or do you think that has shifted in some way?
Well, as we were saying before, the policies implemented by the Ministry of Economy and the Minister of Economy, which is the candidate of Peronism, has had clearly has had an effect on voters and voters' opinions in these last periods and in the last few months. Also, as you were saying, the initial moderation of Javier Milei after getting first in the primaries came deteriorating, and he became more extreme and more radical in his declarations, like we were saying before, like in the general debate where he talked about the dictatorship, and as many of we were saying before, he's moving forward to dollarization that affects also in the region, like countries like Brazil that are not interested in winning, but also the United States that is also really not interested in having a new Bolsonaro or a new Donald Trump in the region. So also there are many interested in the international level of Javier Milei don't get into the presidency. Also China, as you were correctly saying, China is not interested in seeing Javier Milei cutting relationships with China and getting a more unstable Argentina that is in a position where especially the international powers are interested in having Argentina exporting its primary goods and lithium and oil and soybean, and we cannot move forward in like cutting off relationships with Brazil and with China. So there are many international interests that are against Javier Milei getting the presidency. Especially, that's what we are talking about when we think what is at risk in this election, particularly for the region and for the geopolitical stance of Argentina in the present.
Exactly. And when we say that this is a key election for the country and for the region, as you were just saying, we're talking about this kind of proposals that were brought by some of the candidates, like Javier Milei, which affected not only the national politics, but also possible international relationships, as you were just mentioning. That is why that factor, together with the idea, as you were just saying, of having a new Bolsonaro, a new Trump, and what that means for the political scenario worldwide. We are talking about a political scenario in which Argentina, for example, has just been accepted at the BRICS group, with all the importance that entails. And the first statements that Javier Milei made regarding this were that he wasn't interested in joining the group, a group that, of course, is not only a political alliance, but also entails a lot of economic commerce, exchange. And not only Milei, also Bullrich spoke against this joining the BRICS group. So there's a lot of things that involve not only Argentina, but also the region and the world that are at stake at this event in Argentina, this electoral event. We are following the first round of the presidential elections. And let's tell our viewers that we are defining the next presidential authorities for the next period that will start this December 10th of 2023 and will end on 2027. But also, there is a big chance, given the numbers that we saw at the primaries and given the numbers that unofficially are circulating, we still haven't had the official first results, the preliminary results. There's a possibility that, as you were mentioning, we are not going to have a definitive winner tonight. We are waiting on that possibility. If a definitive winner is not chosen, Argentina will head into a runoff on November 19th. And let's recall what are the requisites to effectively win today on the first round of elections. According to Argentine law, the Argentines can elect a president in the first round only if the most voted candidate surpasses the 45% margin of the ballot affirmative votes, or if he surpasses the 40% mark but has a difference of 10% with the second candidate. So that is what we are going to closely follow as soon as we get the preliminary results, which are actually announced in just a few minutes. So we will bring all the important news to our viewers. So Tobias, we were talking about Milei, we were talking about what could have shifted in a vote towards Milei. We still do not have confirmation if that vote actually grew, stayed the same, or lowered, even if there are some rumors coming from electoral schools that it might be lower than it was at the primaries. Let's focus on some of the other candidates. For example, the candidate for the ruling coalition, Sergio Massa, which had a pretty rough couple of months after the primary elections. There was a devaluation. Inflation continues to increase, but Massa, as you were saying, had a lot of new measures to propose. We talked about this a little bit during the debate. He proposed different things to target the specific sectors of society in order to counteract the inflation. How have you seen Sergio Massa in this last few days and months as a candidate?
Well, what's interesting also, speaking about the debate, that was what we discussed in our previous encounter. Sergio Massa, if we think about the debate, was shown as the most presidential and the most logical candidate and rational election in the debate, especially because we saw Patricia Bullrich having problems in communicating her ideas and in communicating her policies, while Javier Milei was also showing radicalism and extremism, as we said before, where he should have shown more moderation for getting more voters from different coalitions and parties. In the last few days, also in his final rally, Javier Milei said that he wasn't in the need of voters from other coalitions like Together for Change and Together for Fatherland, for Homeland. He said that he wouldn't need them and they can keep their failures. So he was like despising the other voters to come in to vote him. So we are seeing this how this affected Javier Milei, but also how it benefited Sergio Massa, especially at the debate where he had everything to lose in the debate where he was shown as he was posing as Minister of Economy of a country with a strong devaluation in the last few months and a strong a strong increase in the levels of inflation. So Sergio Massa is now shown as the rational candidate and as the strong candidate, and this devaluation and these high levels of inflation were compensated at different policies we said before with the income tax for wages for workers. So many of the workers that previously didn't vote or were angry with Sergio Massa were compensated in this devaluation, and this is increase of inflation. So Javier Milei was shown as extremist and radical, while Patricia Bullrich was shown as incapable of communicating her idea and her policies, but Sergio Massa was still kept firm as rational and the logic choice. So that's why I think he increased and he got a better performance in these elections.
Exactly, and we continue going through, before we get the official results, we continue going through these important key issues that undergo Argentine politics for our viewers to understand what's at stake in these elections and also what to look for when the official results start coming up. What are the important political spaces in which the main candidates are debating? What are the possible outcomes for the different coalitions? So we were talking about Milei first and the possibility of his space either gaining or losing some of his voters. We were also talking about Massa and how he, against all odds, managed to apparently make a good candidate position, even if he, as you were saying, it was a very, very tough position for Sergio Massa, being the Minister of Economy of a country that is in the middle of a very delicate economic situation, dealing with the IMF and its restrictions, and it still has managed to, apparently, we will confirm this with the official results, but maybe at least maintained or having increased his potential votes. So let's talk about a little bit about Patricia Bullrich from Together for Change. She was elected as candidate for the opposition coalition at the primaries. She came in second, if we count the complete coalition, the votes of the complete coalition at the primaries, little after below Milei and just barely above Sergio Massa. And what do we expect now that she is heading the list? Just recently, days ago, she incorporated Horacio Rodríguez Larreta, who was her main, the other leader of the coalition. She incorporated him into her future possible cabinet, obviously as a way of trying to increase her electoral base and trying to retain those votes that were actually destined to Horacio Rodríguez Larreta, who did not end up being the coalition's candidate. So how do you see this? What do you expect for the Together for Change vote to be now that we are minutes away from getting our official results? Do you think that she might have succeeded in retaining those votes? Do you think that Together for Change might have lost votes either to Milei or to Massa? She was very debated, very, very questioned in the debate. As you said, she tried to gain force, bringing Melconian, as you also mentioned, as a possible Minister of Economy. But Melconian was also involved in very big scandals during the last few days with a series of audios that came out into public that related him to possible to possible areas of corruption and very serious corruption charges. So how do you see the Together for Change space in this first round of election?
Well, the main problem, I believe, for Together for Change coalition was the internal problems and internal debates between different actors, especially between the radical part of the coalition. I mean, the Radical Party of Argentina, that it's the another partner of PRO and the Macri Party inside Together for Change. There were internal debates with the radicals against the Macrists, especially in the problems that would define an election with, for example, a ballotage scenario with Sergio Massa and Javier Milei, of what would the radical voters do. That generated a big debate between the radicals and the Macrists. Also, the conflict between Horacio Rodríguez Larreta and Patricia Bullrich was much more extended much more longer after the primaries. So the incorporation of Rodríguez Larreta just a few days before the election was a little late for the Together for Change coalition, and where they kept waiting and where they saw how the votes of the moderate voters of Together for Change moved towards Sergio Massa, and that wasn't able to stop that bleed. Also, many of the voters of Together for Change moved towards Javier Milei. So we are seeing how the scenario of three that Cristina Kirchner vaticinated at the beginning of a few months ago, it started to become a polarization of two groups between Together for Homeland and Liberty Advances.
Exactly. So I want to thank you, Tobías Belgrano, political analyst, who has joined us in this election night. Thank you for joining Latin American Vote. We will continue analyzing with our viewers this special night at the Argentine politics.
Thank you very much for having me once again.
Thank you, Tobías.